Like, where does Stephen Donnelly get off thinking that he knows best what's best for my children when I'm the one who carried them around for 9 months, gave birth to them, and I'm rearing them? He's not living in my house. He's not listening to their worries or their fears. And he has the neck to dictate to me what my children have to do. No.
The news has obviously come in that young children in primary school are going to have to wear masks going forward. What was your reaction as parents when you heard this news?
Well, for myself, I just felt it was an absolute violation of parental rights. I feel like everything now has just been so politicised, right down to the family, what you can and can't do with your own family, you know. Even restrictions going into restaurants that we had before. And now that was okay, we could handle that, and then all of a sudden now it's the kids. And that's where the red line is just kind of drawn for me. Like, I have no problem with other people wanting to send their kids into school if they feel they should be wearing a mask. That's fine, you do that. You have the right to choose for your child to wear a mask, but your rights don't trump mine as a parent.
I was a bit shocked because all along there's been several reports from HICWA saying that they didn't want children. It wasn't necessary for children to wear masks. And then suddenly there's this turnaround from NEFIT and the government. Like, where's the science? Where's the evidence for this? I just don't see it. The evidence is there that no children under 12 in Ireland have died from COVID. For the majority, certainly any parents I've met at the school, their children just had very, very mild symptoms.
The government feel they need to be seen to be doing something. And I don't think it's about health anymore. I'm in several WhatsApp groups with family, friends, and they're all getting the same email saying that unless your child is exempt for A, B, C or D, your child has to go to school wearing a mask, or they could be sent home. And that's threatening families, and it's threatening parents and threatening children. And there's no consideration for the mental health impact that has on young children. I had my daughter crying the other day saying, I absolutely hate COVID. And most parents just want a normal childhood. I had a normal childhood. And it's just kind of, they've crossed a red line now where, you know, you kind of go, how is this still about health? Because if masks were working all along, why are we still in the situation? Why are we back in a situation where they're talking about lockdowns, more restrictions? And now also today, the rollout of vaccines for is it 5 to 11-year-olds, I believe. So I'm just saying, this isn't just about health anymore. It's not about health, because if it was about health, they would consider the mental health and well-being of young children, particularly children who are hearing impaired like Rory. I'm in a group with parents who run support services for parents who have children who are deaf, hard of hearing. And there was children going out this morning wearing cochlear implants because they were terrified they wouldn't hear their friends speaking to them, and they wouldn't be able to lip read either, because lip reading of course is an essential tool for somebody who is hearing impaired. It's just gone beyond a joke now.
I just feel it's cruel. I just can't imagine my child sitting in school all day, never seeing a smile from one of the friends.
Obviously for children, seeing other people's faces is very important for their social development and, you know, empathy and learning how other people feel. What role do you think this is going to have psychologically on children long term if this kind of policy continues?
Oh, there's no question it's going to do damage. Absolutely, I've no doubt at all. And the thing about scandals in this country is that the people, the experts who do this, they walk away. And it's the parents who will have the fallout from this in years to come. The damage done to children, the anxiety, the trauma, the learning difficulties, everything. And we'll have to handle all this. And the people doing this now, they walk away from it all with their big pensions. And they're never held accountable for this.
Do you think that children are being disproportionately frightened by these restrictions and by the narrative surrounding COVID?
It's definitely causing a lot of fear and anxiety. I mean, right down to their sports, their outside school activities that we all have our children in, whether it be music, sports, extracurriculum, they're all gone. Like, you know, every time that the government, and there's always going to be a new variant, let's face it, but it's just constant. It's like a replay. It's like Groundhog Day. And at this stage, I just think everyone's fed up. Like, you know, listening to your daughter crying, saying, I hate the government, I hate COVID. And we try to keep this house as normal as possible, and it's still affecting them. There's only so much a parent can do to protect their children from this. I keep hearing this saying, the new normal. There's nothing normal about this new normal. And it is an endemic, and we know that. And the evidence is there to support that with all these new variants that keep popping up. Like, and it does happen with viruses. That there's no doubt about that. But I'm just curious to know, how far are people willing to let it go? I mean, are we going to live like this forever? Because there's always going to be a new variant. As far as I can see, NEFA aren't going away, and I didn't elect anyone in NEFA to dictate to me. Like, where does Stephen Donnelly get off thinking that he knows best what's best for my children when I'm the one who carried them around for 9 months, gave birth to them, and I'm rearing them? He's not living in my house. He's not listening to their worries or their fears, and he has the neck to dictate to me what my children have to do. No.
The cure can't be worse than the disease. We have to evaluate the harms being done, and I just don't see science behind it. I don't see accountability. They can never show us the reasons for the decisions they're making.
And not to mention as well, children are constantly touching their faces. And sure, Leodon was telling me, one of the kids were telling me that one of the girls in their classes had their mask, but they were wearing it as a hat on their head. So I was just saying, like, how can you even police this? You said as well in Eve's class, there was a child, the teacher had to take the mask off the child because he was putting it on his head. So they're actually touching their faces more. Like, if anyone who has kids knows, if there's something up on their face, they're not going to leave it alone no matter how many times. They're too young. Yeah. So in actual fact, I think it's probably more of a hazard, isn't it?
Yeah. It's actually going to backfire. Basically,
I'm just left wondering what's next. What's to say that they won't stop my children from going to school if I don't choose to give them a vaccine? You know, where are our rights to say, no, I'm not willing to give my child a vaccine. I don't know enough information about this vaccine, particularly in children. We don't know the long-term effects, and I've every right to feel that way because it is very new and there are no long-term studies. So, you know, I'm an asthmatic, and at the end of the day, I look after myself. I as you can see, my hands are quite dry from washing my hands. I keep my distance. I don't, you know, if there's a big party going on, I'm probably not there. I go to very little events unless it's family. I watch myself because that's my responsibility. If I was to expect my children to protect me, I probably would have kept them from school and homeschooled them. But it's my responsibility to keep me and them safe. So therefore, it's not my right to stop them from living their lives. And I think that goes right out across the spectrum. Anyone who's vulnerable like myself, it's your responsibility to protect you. It's not anybody else's responsibility to look after you, particularly children. You can't expect young children to look after adults. Like, so when was that ever a normal thing? We have this hypocritical society. Nobody's forgetting Golfgate. Nobody is forgetting Leo over in the festival while we weren't allowed. We weren't allowed to have electric picnic in Ireland, which a lot of people love. And whether that's the right or wrong decision, but you can't go to a festival and be caught sitting in a park picking at your nose while you're telling the Irish people that, you know, no, you're not allowed to go dancing. Like, it's just ridiculous now, like the amount of hypocrisy. We're not, you know, in any way denying that COVID exists. What we're denying is the right for the government to infringe on our rights to freedom of choice for our children. And that's the bottom line of it, isn't it?